Access to electricity is more than just about being able to light your home or cook your food. It's about connecting to the world. Without it, how do you charge your cell phone, listen to the news on the radio, or watch the game on television? Vincent Makalima is someone who struggles to stay connected. He has no electricity at home, so he walks almost a kilometer just to charge his cell phone. He pays 5 rand per charge, a lot for a man who has been unemployed for 4 years. Still, he finds the money just to stay in touch with friends and family. Vincent is one of millions still without power in South Africa. But government has done a lot in 20 years. Today, 85% of households are connected to the grid. Back in 1994, only 34% of homes could switch on their lights. Improving access at such a rapid pace, coupled with an economy that's grown almost threefold, put the grid under major pressure. This saw the country's lights go out in 2008 because no new power stations were built to match the increased demand.
We can put it down to a case of procrastination on the part of the government. They were well aware that we were running into a crisis. The information was given to them by Eskom planners, but no action was taken. When action was taken, it was several years too late.
The immediate solution: mega coal power stations, Medupi and Kusile. Some of the largest and most advanced in the world. The mammoth stations were supposed to start powering the nation by 2012 and 2013. But countless delays due to strikes and technical mistakes have pushed the deadlines back several times. Both projects are already over budget by billions, Medupi even doubling in cost. Eskom admits the skills shortage has played a role, but it's working hard to change that.
Yes, it is an issue. Yes, it is being addressed. As Eskom, as an example, we train over 12,000 people. A very deliberate attempt to make sure we address both the infrastructure requirement and the future skills needs.
But when Medupi and Kusile are eventually up and running, there still won't be enough power to go around. To avoid the mistakes of the past, government now has the Integrated Resource Plan. This blueprint divides the country's long-term and short-term energy needs into coal, nuclear, gas, hydro, wind and solar. The initial grand plan, released in 2011, was criticized for being archaic in thinking and too reliant on mega power stations. It's recently been updated, and critics say it's much improved. It now calls for many smaller power stations, making it easier for more independent power producers to enter the market. But Professor Anton Eberhardt, expert in energy infrastructure, says the days of Eskom's power monopoly should be numbered.
We need to restructure the industry to bring out the planning, the procurement and the contracting functions into a separate institution, state-owned, but in a separate to Eskom, so that IPPs and Eskom are treated on an even basis.
The success of government's program with independent power producers in the renewable sector is proof that Eskom doesn't have to build it all. Since 2011, dozens of companies have invested over 100 billion rand building solar and wind farms across the country. While all the projects combined won't generate more power than Medupi, IPPs are already feeding into the grid. It's clean energy, but power generation relies on weather patterns. When it's windy, Hopefield Wind Farm generates enough electricity to power 29,000 middle-income homes. They have a 20-year power purchasing agreement with Eskom.
Now we're almost at the stage of delivery of power into the grid on a commercial basis. We've remained within our budget and we've stuck to our program. So So the private sector focus can deliver projects of this nature on time and to budget.
In its revised energy plan, government has cut wind allocation by almost half, leaving wind power producers quite surprised, as wind has proved almost 25% cheaper than coal. Going forward, solar seems to be government's preferred option. Rustmo Solar Farm in Rustenburg is also already supplying Eskom with energy. And the project created a few hundred jobs for people from Marikana.
This plant has proven that, that we can get the skills locally. Local people actually build this plant, and on an ongoing basis will actually look after and maintain the plant.
The bulk of the jobs created by these projects are short-term though. Manufacturing of parts is where sustainable job creation can happen. Solar Direct employs 150 full-time staff to produce solar panels. But despite the boom in renewables in South Africa, the factory is under pressure. At this stage, Solar Direct exports all of their solar panels to Europe because the local solar farms buy theirs from China at a cheaper rate, leaving this factory with little hope of expansion or even long-term survival. Managing Director Ryan Hammond says local power producers source cheaper panels from China because government's rules for purchasing local are vague and easily manipulated.
If we simply take practical examples such as the Indian market, there the local content rules are very clear. There's no interpretation involved. Projects have to use locally laminated modules. There is no option. I think the challenge we face at the moment is that the rules are somewhat ambiguous, open to interpretation and potentially manipulation.
Government does aim to roll out 1 million solar geysers by 2015. So far, they've installed over 300,000. The geysers will account for 23% of government's renewable energy targets, possibly create 100,000 jobs, and save low-income households more than half in electricity costs. Keeping the price of electricity down is crucial. It's already rocketed by more than 170% in the past 5 years. One of the major concerns with nuclear is price. A large nuclear plant would cost almost 1 trillion rand. And if Eskom builds it, the consumer would likely suffer.
If the costs in Medupi escalate, we as consumers pay. If the costs for an IPP escalate, it just means they earn less profit. We still pay the same price. So it gets to this issue of market structure, and this is the biggest challenge going forward.
While the debate around the country's energy sector heats up between role players, Nancy Mtomboti only cares about one thing: power for her sewing machine. And Eskom recently connected her village to the grid.
Ngiva ngijabule kakhulu nyalo senginegezi sengidokhona nokuthunga ngikhona ukuthengisa ibhizinisi yephambili ngikhona nokuphinza ngithenge igezi.
Government's task now is to ensure Nancy's machine keeps on whirring for years to come, at a price she can afford. Paula Charles, Cape Town.
Know more about your world. eNCA.com